Everyone, thanks for tuning in to hear the results of the IRRI Survey 2014. This year's survey is by far the biggest and most comprehensive we've ever conducted. So I think we can truly claim to be about to announce what's hot and what's not in SRI and corporate governance research. With me today is Mike Tyrrell of SRI Connect. But before I let him near the microphone, I'd just like to say a couple of words on Extel and the developments we've made this year. Extel gathers literally hundreds of thousands of votes and views from all three sides of the investment community, buy-side, brokers and corporates, on their relationships with each other and what they're looking at in terms of market trends and developments. And of course for Extel this year, the biggest single development by far was leaving Thomson Reuters to join up with WeConvene, the new global events and meetings platform. Well, and we're looking forward to working with many of you in 2015 and beyond as we roll out WeConvene properly, and of course, as Extel itself continues in very much the same way as before. And now, over to Mike.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you everyone for listening in. We've got a lot of material to cover today, and we're going to try and do it in 10 to 15 minutes, so I won't go into too much detail. In any case, I hope that everyone watching is already registered with SRI Connect. If you haven't, please do so today. We have 3,000 active users, and registration is open and free to all investment professionals interested in sustainable development, and to companies and their advisors that seek to communicate with these investors. It's all designed to improve the flow of quality research and investment ideas and the efficiency of communications between companies and investors on sustainability and corporate governance issues. Advert over, back to you, Steve.
Thanks for being so brief, Mike. I'm sure you'll, or possibly me, will undo all that good time saving later on. As I mentioned, this year's survey is the largest and most comprehensive we've yet undertaken, with over 1,000 analysts participating from over 500 firms in 35 countries around the world. And they voted in total for over 500 firms and 350 individuals. The results cover three areas: the best individual analysts and salespersons, the leading firms, research providers, asset managers and listed companies, and the dynamics of the SRI and corporate governance research value chain. And it's very important not to ignore the third of these. I mean, it's obviously tempting to focus on individual winners and rankings, and we should, because these people have all done extremely well to be voted for by such a number and global diversity of voters.
However, the celebrations are for today. For tomorrow, we would encourage everyone to look in detail at the extended PowerPoint report that can be downloaded from our respective websites, and at the extent and breadth of the contributions that have been made. What you will see is that IRRI provides information with a purpose. Companies, asset managers, sell-side brokers and research providers alike should find in the detail of the survey numerous ways to improve the efficiency, effectiveness and profitability of their SRI and corporate governance engagement. And if anyone would like any help interpreting the information or developing strategies around it, please do get in touch. We will be delighted to help you directly if we can, and if we can't do it ourselves, we will certainly be able to point you to someone within the SRI Connect global network that can help.
So, to kick off, here's a useful little piece of information that helps us position the overall importance of SRI and corporate governance. Leading brokers told us that about 25% of their clients have a strong commitment to SRI and CG. Equally, about 25% of their clients have a sustained interest in them. Another 25% are at early stages, and a further quarter of the community have no apparent interest. Simple conclusion: if you're a company, it's probably time now to take the areas of SRI and corporate governance seriously, particularly as 34% of survey respondents say that access to companies is one of their top priorities. 40% say it's important, and only 6% say it's of little interest.
Another question in the survey reveals that asset management analysts meet on average 30 companies a year on these issues.
With demand for access weighted towards France, the UK, the Nordic region and Switzerland.
But here's where the picture gets a little complicated. Research agency analysts are spending far less of their time in direct contact with companies. 59% of them say that such contact occupies less than 10% of their time. And yet, companies estimate that they spend 51% of their time dealing with research agency analysts and only 30% of their time dealing with the buy side. This suggests that there is a significant inefficiency in the communications between companies and research providers, and that the time gained through improving this efficiency could usefully be spent by companies focusing on communications with the buy-side asset managers that actually hold the stock of their companies or might buy it. To reinforce the point, companies appear to be spending a huge amount of time on SRI and corporate governance communications generally. Personally speaking, it's good to see that the 10 to 30 day band is the most common, as that correlates most clearly with my sense of what's appropriate. I suspect, though, that those spending over 60 days a year will be prompted by this peer comparison to think about whether they are really being as efficient as they might be in this process. To be efficient, appointing someone to take charge is clearly step one. For 50% of companies, this person works for CSR. For 30%, the person in charge works for IR. I personally favour the latter because they are better able to align communications with other IR communications. The response to this slide is easy to give. The question, what best describes your plan for SRI and corporate governance communications this year? The 24% of companies that don't have a formal plan for such communications deserve every piece of nonsense that the SRI industry throws at them. By contrast, the 6% of companies that have a formal published plan for communications, setting out, for example, when their reports will be published, which conferences they will be attending, when they will be roadshowing, etc., deserve to have the SRI and corporate governance research analysts fall into line behind their communications timetable, and only contact them during the periods that they, the company, have defined for so doing. 71% of companies, however, are missing a trick. They are going to the trouble of producing a plan, but by not sharing it, they can have no expectation that investors and analysts will fall into line behind it. It's very easy to publish a plan and costs nothing. So do get in contact if you would like to make this part of your life a little easier. In terms of how companies manage their SRI and corporate governance contacts, a third of companies have no formal mechanism, a third of companies have an ad hoc process, and a third of companies manage their SRI contacts proactively, or in the way they would manage all of their other investor contacts. As ever, proactivity pays off.
So, who are the good guys? Unilever, Royal Dutch Shell, GlaxoSmithKline, and Marks & Spencer. And of those top 10, Unilever, GSK, Schneider Electric, Intel and Danone featured last year, whilst the others are newcomers. And we'd strongly encourage all companies to check for their names on this list of the full companies that investors and analysts would most like to see.
Now, I've left these 3 slides of detail in to highlight simply the amount of effort that companies have put into identifying weaknesses and strengths in the process of SRI communications and proposing further developments. I would strongly encourage anyone who is serious about involvement in this industry to take 10 minutes and read through all of the companies, all of the comments from all of the companies with an open mind to understand areas for new development. We also asked asset managers, and their response on how companies could improve their communications was pretty clear. They want more direct communications and they want more integration between CSR, sustainability, strategic and financial information.
And we asked the companies who they rated. In summary, they like Amundi, but it's encouraging that they also like analysts from Mirova, F&C, BNP IP, BlackRock, Norges and Royal London. And there's a full list of ranked analysts on SRI Connect. And from the research providers, they like these analysts. So, many congratulations to Albert, Zoya, Nada and the rest of the ranked analysts.
Finally, we asked companies what developments they would like to see in SRI or corporate governance research in 2015. 4 requests dominated. More direct engagement between analysts and companies, transparency, consistency and standardization of questions, but also research to be more company specific and qualitative. I'm not sure whether those last two aren't contradictory. And I love this comment about how investors, asset managers, need to take more responsibility for what is being done in their name by their research providers. If the supply chain isn't functioning efficiently and to the benefit of all parties, it's likely that asset managers won't be getting the quality of information that they ultimately need. So now we come to the prizes bit. The best analyst in the world for corporate governance, Steve?
Is Loic Dessin of Proxinvest. So congratulations to Loic and to all of those in the top 10. And it's also an opportunity here to highlight that rankings down to 200th place are available on SRI Connect. But corporate governance is a team enterprise, and the best firm overall is shared between ISS and MSCI ESG Research. Congratulations to both, and indeed to all ranked firms. And the best analyst for SRI Research is Tobias Jung of IRRI. And it's interesting to see that there has been some turnover in this category. Only Linda Elling, Laura and Dana were in the top 10 last year. And at the firm level, well, less turnover. Sustainalytics retained their top ranking, with MSCI ESG Research coming second again. But Vigeo has risen from 8th place up to 3rd, and Bloomberg has had a meteoric rise, coming from 40th last year to 4th in the table now.
But what's perhaps even more interesting than the headline results, at least for a research geek such as myself, is the variety that we see once we get a bit more granular. So Solaron is voted the best firm for emerging markets research. Hermes EOS takes top place for engagement services. MSCI ESG Research is top place for fixed income research. Rep Risk wins the gold for risk analytics. And Ethifinance is the standalone leader for small cap research. While the execution of voting is again tied between Glass Lewis and ISS. What is it about the exact equal weightings on the corporate governance side of the market? Looking to improvements for the future, we asked about frustrations with research services. Lack of materiality was the #1 cited, something that we'll talk about more when we look at the broker involvement in the industry.
On the positive side, however, asset managers feel more listened to than they have done in the past, although the 38% who don't feel consulted or listened to could clearly use some improvement.
And it may well be that the ratio of direct FaceTime or phone time with clients by SRI research agency and corporate governance agency analysts could improve this in future. But let's get back to the good guys. On sales and client relations, the good guys on corporate governance, Steve, are
Stefano Gallardi of INRATE and Catalina Secretano of Sustainalytics and Joshua Kendall of MSCI ESG Research. And on SRI itself are Catalina comes top and Stefano is a runner-up, so reversing the order of the previous slide, with Dara Gallant of Sustainalytics joining them in the top 3. And again, full listings down to 100 are available on SRI Connect. Then, when we look at the most innovative work, Carbon Tracker, with their carbon cost curve work, sneak in between MSCI, who seem to be highly rated across a wide range of different pieces, and Sustainalytics. Of course, some good research is also coming from the sell side, on subjects ranging widely from gender diversity to security, education, and board diversity.
Well, there's a problem here. Asset managers are very, very clear that they want more broker involvement in SRI. In fact, I think all but one was explicit on this point, and that they want the brokers to work on integration. They want broader and deeper coverage from the sell side and higher levels of client service, a longer-term focus, corporate access, and stock-specific work. But although asset managers want more work from the sell side, there is still a lot of confusion about how they will pay for it. As an ex-sell-side analyst, I would probably discount the 27% of "it's considered part of our overall allocation" as promises that might as well be written on water, and focus on those where individual analysts or SRI teams have explicit commission to allocate. The sell-side's perception is pretty similar, and the conclusions are pretty clear. If asset managers want integration, and our research suggests that they do, and if the sell side is well positioned to deliver it, which again our research suggests they are, then each individual asset management analyst and portfolio manager needs to make the long, hard journey across the trading floor to see their head of equities and argue that if they want to be part of the integration debate, which is of course the next big trend in SRI, they will need to be able to reward the value chain for their work in this area. You'll be glad to hear that's the lecture over. But Steve, finish us on a high note.
I'll do my best, Mike. Okay, let's take a look at which asset managers and asset owners are highly regarded by their professional counterparties. And it's, for the use of SRI and corporate governance research, IRRI, PGGM and Amundi. And for contribution to the wider debate, it's PGGM, IRRI and Mirova.
And so looking ahead, these appear to be the sectors that are likely to be a focus for 2015. And as we said at the beginning, IRRI aims to provide information with a purpose. So today, it's many congratulations to all of the winners, and many thanks to everyone who voted. But tomorrow, please don't ignore the industry dynamics. The SRI and corporate governance research industries are global, active, and varied. From what we've discovered in this survey, we suggest that everyone is proactive. Companies, be proactive in your communication with SRI analysts and investors. Asset managers, take control of your research budget and spend it in a way that supports your specific needs. Brokers, ensure that SRI and corporate governance research leads, not follows, the wider debate on research and commission payment. And research providers, reach out for direct contact up and down the value chain. Thank you everybody for your time, for your votes. Congratulations. We'll see you again next year.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those thanks, and of course, go and download the full report on the SRI Connect website or on extelsurveys.com. Thanks.